All right. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here with you today. Just wanting to check in. Hopefully, you can hear me. I see that my microphone is working, so I'm hoping that that is the case. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I am super excited because I've just hit 1,500 subscribers on my YouTube. So I am celebrating by being here with you right now. And I'd like to answer any of your questions and talk about something that is really exciting to me, and I'm hoping to you as well. So I don't want to keep you for too long. I know that it's a little bit later than I had planned. Unfortunately, YouTube did not want me to go live today for some reason. But Israel actually had asked me a question before going live today about memory and how memory plays a role in language learning. So I wanted to start off by talking about that. So, when you are exposed to new words or phrases or grammar or anything to do with language learning, your brain is encoding that information and storing it in your memory. But we have different kinds of memory, and depending on how much you actually have understood about what you're learning, it depends, like the type of memory that you're using changes. So, the first kind of memory that is usually used when you learn something new is called short term memory. So, that is where we have a new piece of information and our brain is just temporarily holding on to it. So, when you first encounter a new word, or like I said, something new with grammar or maybe something with intonation, anything like that, your brain is just really briefly holding on to it, and it's not going to keep it for very long if it doesn't matter to you. So that's where the next kinds of memory come into play. So the next phase, I guess, of memory is called working memory. And that is like your mental workspace. So it helps you to kind of use and manipulate and process the information. So when you are actively using new language skills, your working memory is at play in that case. But ultimately, where we want to move to is long-term memory. And this is where repetition and practice comes in. Because if we only hear a new word once and then we never hear it again or we never use it, basically that short-term memory is just going to release that information and we're not going to remember it in a week, in a month, anything like that. But if that word is important and your brain kind of triggers and says, hey, wait a minute, I want to know this, then it's going to move into long term memory. And this is where your brain stores language rules, vocabulary, and your overall language proficiency as well. However, when we're learning a language, the easiest way to actually get our memory working for us is when we can take the word or the grammar and use it in what we call associative memory. So that's where we make connections between new information and what we already know. So if we can link new words to existing knowledge, that's going to help us remember and retain that information. So, for example, if you learn the color blue and your favorite color is the color blue, you can think, wow, that blue is beautiful. It's like the sky, it's like the ocean. Now we're not just thinking the word blue, we are associating it with things that we know and we love. And by doing that, it's going to solidify even more in our minds, which is fantastic. So, as I've said before, repetition, practice, these things are key, but also those meaningful associations will strengthen your memory and it will make language learning more effective and efficient because at the end of the day, just memorizing vocabulary, it's pretty much useless. Like, I've seen it over and over and over again as a teacher where kids or adults, they're given word lists where you're just supposed to memorize words, but it's not functional. Our brains don't realize, hey, wait a minute, I can use this in a sentence or a paragraph, or this means something. Basically, your brain is just sitting there and going, cool word. And that's not actually going to help you in using the language. So that's why you want to repeat it. You want to use it in different contexts. And like I said before, you want to start associating it with something that actually means something more to you, because that's when you're going to be able to actually use it long term. All right. So the next thing that I would like to talk about is a little bit more personal, I guess, to me. So basically, maybe some of you know this if you've been following me for a little while, but I am a mom. I have a couple of young children. I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they keep me very busy. But I really, really wanted to raise my children bilingual. And that was so important to me right from when I found out that I was pregnant with my first child. But I realized that my level of proficiency in the language that I wanted to raise my children bilingual with, it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. And that was a bit of a surprise to me because I actually could have conversations in the language. It wasn't something where I was just learning my first words. I actually could speak the language. But I realized that when you're raising a child, it is completely different vocabulary, because when you go to university or when you are learning a language for work, the language that you're learning is the words for business. Whereas when you have a child, all of a sudden you need to know words like the colors and shapes and maybe nursery rhymes and things like that. And so I started to raise my son bilingual, but I realized very quickly I didn't know nursery rhymes. I didn't know the word for hug. I didn't know the basics because I had always spoken it with other adults. And so on the flip side, what I've realized as a teacher is there are so many parents out there who want to raise their children fluent in English, because more and more English is becoming the language of the business world. And I think that it's so important to hold on to your native language and to not let English take everything over. But if you want to know English for school or for business, then it's really important to master it from an early age. And so I see parents spending thousands of dollars to send their kids to school after school to learn a language, when I think that there's another way to do this. And that's by starting them earlier and doing it more at home. So I wanted to share with you today, as a bit of a celebration, that I have created a course that is just a beginner's course. It's called Strong Starts for Babies, and it's meant for moms to use at home with their babies to make sure that you understand that basic level of English, learning the nursery rhymes, learning how you can play and talk to and spend time with your baby using English in everyday situations where maybe you just don't know what to say when you're sitting on the floor playing with your baby. And to be completely honest, maybe you already don't have a lot of ideas anyways, because it's not easy to sit on the floor for hours with your baby because you run out of things to do and say sometimes. So Strong Starts for Babies is an absolute game changer and something that you absolutely need if you are a stay-at-home mom who's looking for more ideas and suggestions for ways to interact with your baby. If you're a parent to a 0 to 18-month-old baby who is interested in increasing the English language input for their child in fun and interesting ways, and someone who already speaks the language but maybe doesn't know the vocabulary for babies. And something that is really, really interesting to know is when you start learning at a younger age, there is a much higher likelihood that your child will grow up without an accent. And also, kind of like we were talking about with memory before, when they hear things over and over and over again as a baby, what happens is it goes into the recesses of their brain. So even if they stop learning English for a period of time, even years, when they go back and try to learn it again, all of those memories can be jogged. The brain connections are already there, and they will actually have a much, much easier time learning a language if they had had some of that information before. So I wanted to share this with you because it's something that I'm going to be offering within the next month. It's going to help you learn how babies learn in general, how to increase your own English skills, because chances are there's still improvement that could happen, even if it's just with pronunciation or a little bit of vocabulary. It's going to give you ideas for how you can interact with your baby using English in everyday situations, and how you can use what you already have. You don't need to be spending a ton of money. You don't need to be buying more toys and things that speak different languages. You are what your baby needs. You'll understand what that means. And you're also going to learn how you can master over 700 new English sentences before your baby does, so that you can have that practice along with your child. I can tell you from personal experience, it is so exciting when your child starts speaking their second language with you. My son comes home from school now, and we slip right into the second language, and we're speaking that in front of his sister constantly, which is absolutely fabulous for her exposure as well. But having my abilities increased is something that will always help with him continuing to learn as well. Then, of course, in that program that I'm going to be offering, we're going to use the read, talk, sing, and play with me early literacy model, because those are the ways that babies learn. And we're going to learn about that, but then we'll also learn ways that you can actually do that in a practical way. You're going to foster a love of reading with reading different kinds of books with your baby. You're going to get easy ideas to spend quality time with your baby, even when you feel like you've run out of ideas. And you're going to learn some of those critical nursery rhymes that are going to give your baby not only bonding experiences with you, but also the ability to just have that base in English, and to understand the flow of the language and how language makes a difference in what you're communicating. So with that being said, like I said, by February, this is going to be available to you through my website. You can always go and check it out. Now, I do want to say this is where I'm kind of starting with courses. I want to be able to provide English education that is really quality and easy to understand for everyone, but obviously I can't do that all at once. So I'm starting with this because I have children in that age range, but I'm going to be adding not only for how parents can use the language with their children, but eventually I'm going to be adding courses for adults as well. And I know that I've been asked by several people about Canada in particular, and how you can, I just got a message the other day asking for assistance with writing cover letters and resignation letters, and things that would help in the employment world. So I'm going to work on creating more videos on YouTube about all of those things as well. But I'm also going to get to the point that I'm going to create courses that you would be able to kind of be guided step by step through to understand how you could effectively work in Canada and apply a lot of those things to other places as well if you want. But obviously, always with the focus of how can we build your English skills while doing all of these things. So I'm just going to take a quick look here and see if I have had any other questions pop up while I've been talking. It's just going to take me a second. Okay, I don't see anything there. All right, I'm just going to check one other place. But if there are no more questions for today, then I'm going to let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening. But definitely, anytime you have questions, feel free to either drop them below in any of the comment sections. I do try to respond to everybody who comments on any of my videos. And of course, through my Facebook and my Instagram account, I also am able to respond to you through there and answer any other questions. So thank you so much for being part of my world. Like I said, I'm really excited to have you here with me. And I look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks.